My purpose this morning is to offer you in three parts my perspective on the role of balance, beauty, and freedom in Buddhist thought. More specifically, I hope to show the relationship between balance, beauty, and freedom, how in fact balance can lead to harmony, harmony to beauty, beauty to freedom. That is, the freedom to engage in a more balanced and beautiful life, so that we might leave behind suffering and its causes, those causes, fear, ignorance, and selfish craving in our bodies, our minds, and our hearts. So in the Buddhist tradition, the causes of suffering, dissatisfaction or imbalance, fear, ignorance, and selfish desire. So yes, I'll be working in threes this morning, 3 parts, 3 stones, 3 causes of our suffering, and also 3 poems. Part 1, balance. In the Buddhist wisdom tradition, balance is often understood as the first step in establishing a mindful or meditative practice. As meditators or in our yoga poses, we think about the place we sit or the place we stand. If we are unable to balance as we sit or as we stand, we will be unable to proceed with effective breath in the body, mental concentration, and thus the possibility of a beneficial understanding of ourselves and of others. Therefore, in the beginning, we must focus on developing a balanced relationship between our bodies and the earth and gravity's pull on us. If you're familiar with the common image of a balanced stack of stones, you may recognize how the first rock, the foundation stone, is vital in providing stability for those who depend upon that stone for their balance and stability. So let me give you a personal example, and then I'll read you my first poem. So in June 2023, 3 years ago, I had the good fortune to travel to Taiwan on a summer Fulbright award. Along with 15 other college faculty and staff, we explored the history, geography, climate, culture, politics, and economics of Taiwan, meeting Taiwanese academics and business leaders, and enjoying a tour of the northern capital city of Taipei, and then the entire island, from its coastal cities to its mountainous resort areas. So, of the many wonderful sights we experienced, I was drawn specifically to Taipei 101, an engineering marvel, a towering skyscraper in Taipei that was built to withstand frequent earthquakes and roaring typhoons. A spectacular feat of engineering and construction, this 101-story building was designed to mimic a tall stack of Chinese takeout boxes or a giant stalk of flexible bamboo. Also, when visiting this building, our party also saw high up in the tower between the 87th and 92nd floors an 18-foot diameter, 728-ton golden sphere made out of steel. Known as a tuned mass damper, it acts as a giant counterweight to stabilize the 1,667-foot skyscraper, reducing structural sway caused by high winds and earthquakes. This tower and its damper served for me as a visual symbol that balance is possible even in the most extreme circumstances of personal instability, including the three causes of suffering: fear, ignorance, and selfish craving. So in response, I wrote the following poem shortly after to record this experience and to compare it to my desire to find balance in my life through the golden wisdom of calm response. This poem begins with a description of how I grew up in Texas in the 1960s and of the early years of what we might now call an emphasis on STEM education. Poem number 1, Harmony Tower. As a teen boy in Houston, with the space race on and rockets standing tall, I don't now recall the test I took in what was called junior high in those days, but I was tracked for 8 years of high school math in 4. Yet I was a word kid, not a numbers one. Sorry for no exam to determine who might enjoy the path of art, poetry, music, love, or this happy trip to Asia to marvel at Taipei 101 with its stacked pagoda, or is it ancient bamboo, ready to sway in a gale or quake because, look, up top sits its third eye, golden wisdom waiting to calm and center again, a weighty lesson for all when we lose our balance. Let it dampen the push-pull of our ignorance and fear when we feel silenced and ignored, our gifts denied, our leaders blind to all but their numbers. Part 2, beauty. In our addition to our desire for balance in a world threatened by dehumanization, autocratic repression, environmental destruction, and income inequality, we also look for beauty that arises out of balanced, symmetrical, and harmonious experiences in our lives. For example, if we are able to achieve balance as we sit or stand, we have also achieved the stability necessary to focus on our heart and our breath, our torsos, our stance, our strength, our readiness to harmonize with ourselves and with others. But if we are unbalanced, suffering due to fear, ignorance, and selfishness, craving, we won't be able to experience that beauty. Again, returning to the common image of a balanced stack of stones, you may recognize how the second stone must harmonize with the foundational stone to provide stability for the third stone above. How does beauty come to us? Well, look where we are, the sanctuary. Look at all the ways that balance and symmetry create a feeling of beauty. There are the parallel walls with their beautiful windows side to side, the mirroring of the pews and the banners, the parallel rows of chandeliers above us, the carpeted runway down the middle, the beautiful balance between the piano and the pulpit. Consider also the feeling you have of walking into the sanctuary each Sunday. And then you make a decision where to sit, on one side or another, to create balance. If you feel that one side is more occupied or weighted than the other, you move naturally, unthinking, to the other side. Consider all the beauty of the balances we create among ourselves and others as we give and share time and treasure with each other, the friendships we make within and beyond our walls. Consider also the beauty of the harmonies produced at the piano, from the choir when they perform, or in the songs we sing, in the harmonies of our voices, high and low, as we fill this sanctuary with our bodies, our voices, resonating together as we did with the chant today. Consider how we come to better understand ourselves as we learn to sing and give, how our own beauty is enhanced, how we feel it in our bodies, our hearts, as we come into better symmetry and balance in relationship to ourselves and one another. In the next poem, which I wrote earlier last month, I tried to depict the beauty I experienced on a recent walk at Mount St. Mary Park in St. Charles, one of the favorite places in this area that my wife and I and our dog Clementine often walk and enjoy. This poem is called Resonant Sutra, and it reflects a writing practice I have developed over time to invite Buddhist reflection into my life. In this case, I describe walking with the Buddha at this park along the beautiful Fox River. Poem number 2, Resonant Sutra. During our morning walk along the lazy June River, with its fuzzy goslings and sweet new blossoms of the silken ivory lilacs, I told the Buddha about an article I had just read on the healing properties of music, detailed by new research in neuroscience. I like this reminder, he smiled. Just think of all the ways we resonate with what comes into our senses. The beautiful sights along our walk here, the fragrance of new flowers, the sound of the wind in the trees, our shoes now crunching on this path. And yes, the music we enjoy that heals and energizes us, touching emotions deep inside. But consider also how important it is for us to discover our harmony with others, to be in friendship with those who need our song, and those whose song resonates with our own, which, by the way, can awaken us to listen with more attention to the strings of our own heart. How might we retune or restring ourselves for better listening, better singing, better harmony? Part 3, freedom. Returning to the image of the stack of stones, we can see how the top one is dependent upon the balancing act, harmony, and beautiful symmetry of the lower 2 stones. This top stone might mirror how freedom of thought is dependent upon a safe and stable foundation, the experiences of harmonic beauty in our lives. Again, in Buddhism, our meditative practice that leads to a balanced self-understanding, more beautiful relationships in the world, and freedom of thought is echoed in the traditional pose of the seated posture of the Buddha. with first a confident and stable foundation of the feet and legs and buttocks. Second, the strong, upright posture of the midsection. And third, the serene expression of the reflective mind. In contemplation, we seek new insights on how to be free from the causes of our suffering. Freedom from fear, freedom from ignorance, freedom from selfish craving. There's another image in our lives that represents this freedom, and that is the core image of the Unitarian Universalist faith itself, with its three parts: the chalice bowl, the wick, and the flame. And then there is our own Unitarian Universalist Society of Geneva icon of our flaming chalice displayed here, with its three-part foundation: flame and circle within another circle. Is that foundation a body with welcoming outstretched arms? Is the beautiful flame a living heart? Is the circle an open mind? Is the larger circle the freedom and friendship of our encircling community? And then we have the actual chalice right here. It also has three ingredients: the chalice bowl as the balanced foundation, second, the fuel, and the body of the wick at the beautiful heart of the chalice that breathes and transports the fuel, and third, the freedom of the flame itself. We light the flame each Sunday to represent our covenant that supports each other in our religious freedom. We could also say that our sanctuary, the floor, this tower, and our chalice also serve as a productive triad of balance, beauty, and freedom. First, this historic sanctuary represents a strong and balanced church foundation of stability and safety. Second, this glass and metal wooden tower represents our beautiful community of generous membership. And third, the chalice itself represents the light of our freedom and friendship among us in this moment today. But what about the future? What about the future? We know the flame will be extinguished today and will leave this place. We know we will return to a world of suffering, a world that challenges our balance and beauty and freedom with despair, repression, fear, ignorance, selfishness. Poem number 3. Despair Sutra. How do we not despair, I asked the Buddha. What with the daily onslaught of terrible news, bombarding us with further proof of rising temperatures and the growing disparities of wealth and power. Looking up from his phone, smiling, Buddha said, being present to the news and recognizing how fear, craving, ignorance generate ongoing suffering in us should not generate even more suffering in us. I get how easy it is to get caught up in the endless cycle of helplessness, but understanding the causes of our despair is no cause for more despair. Instead, it should increase compassion and forgiveness for ourselves and for others, because we're all subject to suffering and its three causes: fear, craving, and ignorance. Repeat instead again and again the same truths. We suffer, we know why, and the escape path is friendship, stillness, and the work of freedom. I've attempted to demonstrate this morning how balance, beauty, and freedom in the Buddhist tradition represent three universal aspects of beneficial human experience and relationship. How balance can lead to harmony, harmony to beauty, beauty to freedom. In the end, we know that balance, beauty, and freedom are temporary because perfection is not available to us. We return to periods of fear and ignorance and selfishness. And that is why we need the sanctuary. We need this church community. We need these friends. We need this music. These examples of balance, beauty, and friendship to remind us that we are not alone, both in our suffering and in our desire to repeat again and again our efforts to reduce that suffering and its causes in ourselves and in others. Thank you to UUSG and the freedom to enjoy its beauty and the balancing acts of our uplifting church and community. Let freedom ring. Let the light of our freedom guide our many paths. Let it be so for us and for all. Amen.
Visit us at uusg.org.